Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ryan from At the Movies with Matt and Ryan. I want to do an album review, and it's Saturday night, March 18th. Hope everyone's weekend's been going great. I came back from the Kong movie, the new Kong movie, which Matt and I will be reviewing hopefully in a few days. Matt's gone for the weekend, but we'll probably do a podcast on that movie. Obviously, we can't go back to our show, like I said on my John Wick review. We can't go back to our radio show for another few weeks because we have to get retrained for something. So I decided. So we're gonna continue to do or movie podcasts mostly, like we did over break. But like I said in my John Wick podcast, I kind of wanted to do some album reviews too. And guess what? The new Drake album came out kind of unexpectedly tonight on this March 18th Saturday night. Came out at 8:30. Well, it went wide 8:30. It went to all streaming services: iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music at 8:30 Eastern time. And when I got back to the movie from the movies, I'm like, oh, the new Drake album, the biggest artist on the planet. I'm kind of curious to listen, even though I wasn't a huge fan of his last album, Views, which was like the biggest thing since God. um, it was definitely one of the most hyped albums, probably in rap history, in my opinion. I mean, he broke countless chart records and everything. I wasn't a huge fan of it because I found his lyrics to be shallow and his production to be very simple and not inventive whatsoever. And I was hoping, after that he came out with a couple songs, Fake Love, Sneakin' with 21 Savage, and those were pretty good songs. I was like, oh, maybe Drake's back to, the nice rapping that he's good at. And I think he's got a decent voice singing wise, but I just don't like his lyrical ability. I don't think it's very inventive. I don't think it's very innovative. I think it's kind of shallow, cheesy at points, and it is kind of a turnoff for me. It felt like Drake was playing to the crowds on Views, and I was hoping that he would move away from that, and it looked like, Fake Love and Sneaking, he was kind of doing that. One thing I will say about Drake, and I'm still trying to find out with every album that he's put out, is I'm still trying to find something, some kind of quality that he hasn't shown yet in his career, which is, you know, some layered content, and he hasn't showed that yet. And you don't listen to Drake to you don't listen to Drake to feel emotion. You listen to Drake to have fun and party. Like, that's what his music's for, which is fine, but it has to be done effectively. And here we are with his new album, More Life, which which came out a few hours ago, and I don't know what to say. 22 songs. It's very long. Drake called it more of a playlist than an album, which I kind of agree with, because an album is usually a cohesive unit. This was more of 22 songs thrown together, which is kind of like how a playlist is formed. So at least he admits that it is a playlist type project. And I was I was definitely a little optimistic because these two songs he released after Views were pretty good. So I was a little optimistic. Maybe he was going back to his old style. On his first song, Free Smoke, on this new album, it was a great intro. He has this girl, and I'm not sure who was singing at the beginning of the song, but it sounds like Alicia Keys. Whoever it was is very Alicia Keys ish, and she's playing the piano and she's singing over this nice beat, and it's kind of a nice beginning. And then all of a sudden Drake comes in and starts rapping his usual lyrics about people on his back and this missing this girl and that girl, which is not the most layered content ever, but it was a good start. I like the beat. I like the background bass kind of reminded me a bit of J. Cole's album, and as well as kind of Kanye's Life of Pablo feedback, kind of like that type of squeaky production. It was kind of nice. It was a good start. He goes into the second song, No Long Talk, with Giggs, who I have no really any clue who that is, but it's a hard trap beat song, very aggressive, goes at his haters. Drake goes at his haters in the song, pretty good song. I like that song too. I'm like, oh, this is kind of reminding me of if it's you're reading the first two songs kind of remind me of if you're reading this, it's too late, which was his 2015 mixtape, and I really love that mixtape. It's considered a classic, and Drake wasn't even trying. It seemed like, but they was still pretty good. Which that's why he has talent. I'm not trying to hate on Drake here. He does have talent. I just wish he wouldn't try to play to the crowd so much. Then we go into his third song. And not even just his third song, his fourth song, fifth song, and sixth song and seventh song were all back to the shallowness of the lyrics. It felt like Views all over again. It felt like deja vu. The one thing I will say about these songs, the four songs are Passion Fruit, Georgia Interlude, Get It Together, and Madiba, Redeem, and Blem. So actually 5 songs. One thing I will say, the production on these are kind of nice, and they don't sound copycatish. Passion Fruit has this nice Caribbean-style African drum beat. And kind of same with the other 4, but in a different type of way. Different, speed and different tempo, which is kind of nice. The production felt kind of summery. And it reminded me of summer a bit. It reminded me of going to the beach and having a nice walk on the beach or something, which is kind of cool. It's winter right now. It just snowed last week, and I'm kind of missing summer. So it was a nice reminder. But the lyrics just weren't clever at all, and it really brought all those tracks down for me. Get It Together had Black Coffee and Georgia Smith as features. They didn't really stand out to me. And then the 7th song is, I think, the worst song in the whole album. Blem, it's called. I don't even know what Blem means. I tried looking it up. I don't think it's in the dictionary. I don't know what he means by Blem. It's another song about his haters in a pop way. So I think they will appeal to the mainstream, these 5 songs, because they sound a lot like One Dance and Controlla. So I think it will appeal to the mainstream. But for me, as a person who actually dissects this, I think it's not the most clever song choices in the world. And I think Drake's a decent singer. I just wish he would add more depth and more. There's not much there for me when he sings. That's my problem with his singing. And then we go to his 8th song on the playlist, and it's called 4422. And Drake's not even on this song. It's Sampha, who I'm actually a big fan of. Sampha's like a pianist, kind of R&B singer. He was on The Life of Pablo. He was on Kanye's last track on that. It's called Saint Pablo. He just came out with an album himself, which has a couple nice songs on it. He's very talented. He sounds very good on this song, and there's a nice piano riff as well with it. And I think he outshines Drake a little bit compared to the 5 previous songs. That's the thing. There's a lot of, especially in the second half of this, there's a lot of features on this album, and I think the features are better than Drake, which is okay, and it's good. But if this is your project, you don't want your features outshining you, especially if you're Drake. You don't want that happening. But anyway, we'll get into that a little later. In the 9th track, it's called Gila Chester. Finally back to that, if you're reading this too late, hard style trap beat. Again, it's hard to dissect these lyrics because there's really nothing there. So again, lyrically, it's not the greatest song, but I like the style. I like how he's kind of more angry on the song, and he can be a dick sometimes, which is good. You don't want to be this emotional mess all the time, which he is. It seems like. The 10th song, Skepta Interlude, is just an interlude with a rapper named Skepta. Kind of forgettable. Skepta raps about closing an account because it's catfish, which makes no sense to me at all. So I don't know, not a good song. And then we get into the 11th track called Portland, which features Quavo and Travis Scott. Quavo and Travis Scott outshine Drake by a mile on this track. Quavo has a nice. What's interesting here is that it's kind of ironic. Quavo and Travis Scott kind of take a shot at Kid Cudi. Quavo, the hook on this song is saying Quavo saying, Don't Let Anyone Ride Your Wave. It's kind of a copycat Kid Cudi. I don't think it's a good one. I don't think he's trying to praise Kid Cudi. I think he's actually trying to take a shot at him, which is interesting because Quavo and Travis Scott are pretty good friends with Kid Cudi. In fact, Travis Scott, I've watched interviews, has said that Kid Cudi's his idol, and he actually let Kid Cudi be on his album on Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight. And Travis Scott's also been on Kid Cudi's new album too, Baptized in Fire, on that song on the album. So it was kind of interesting to see that, a little backstabbing there. We'll see where that goes. Maybe that'll go somewhere. But good song though. I like the song. And then the 12th track is Sacrifices featuring 2 Chainz and Young Thug. Young Thug actually is really good in this song. He has a really good verse. Again, he outshines Drake. I think they both do. Young Thug you can actually understand on this song. And you actually kind of get a sense of who Young Thug is. He talks a lot about his troubles growing up, and he has a couple punchlines in there which are pretty cool. So I think it's Young Thug's best verse I think he's ever put out, to be honest. Because most of the time I can't really understand what he's saying. He's more of a trap artist, and you listen to him more for partying than anything else. So it's kind of nice getting to know him a little bit more on this track. The 13th and 14th song are forgettable and not great quality. Nothing Into Somethings and Teenage Fever. Both songs Drake's singing again on. Teenage Fever is so cheesy. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea. Well, you will have an idea when you listen to it. Yeah, you'll have an idea when you listen to it because it's just the cheesiest thing ever. It's like One Dance again, but it's like worse, and that's hard to do. In my opinion, that's hard to do. Um, it's like about him thinking about a teenage crush he had. Please get over it, Drake. You're like 40 years old. No one cares about a crush you had back in high school, and it's no use bringing it back up randomly on this album. So we're gonna move on from that. He brings back Gigs again on the 15th song, KMT, another hard trap beat. Pretty good. It's not great, but it's good. We move on to the 16th song called Lose You. Drake singing. Drake's actually really good on this song. I think this is one of his best songs on the album. We actually get to learn his state of mind on this song and why he's acting the way he is, taking shots at Meek. Why is he so pissed off? Because he has been pissed. You see the tweets. He's taken shots at Kid Cudi in one of his earlier songs. So we actually get a reason why on this song, and I won't spoil it. You guys can listen to it. But it's actually a really good song, and it's got a nice nocturnal beat in the background too. And Drake has some nice bars on this song too. So definitely one of the highlights of the track. We move into Can't Have Everything on the 17th, where it's pretty self-explanatory what it's about. Drake's mom shows up at the end of the song where she's like telling him, don't be so mean to everyone. Don't worry about what people say, because if you do, it's going to stunt your growth as an artist, which is true. And I'm glad she actually called him and said that to him, because maybe Drake will move on. Which leads into another highlight, in my opinion, on the 18th track, Glow, featuring Kanye West. My man. Kanye, if you guys missed the old Kanye, he's back on this track. Not only does he have a nice hook to this song, he also has some bars, which is not something you'd expect from Kanye at this stage of his career. The hook he has sounds almost like 808 and Heartbreak without the auto-tune, and he's actually singing pretty well. I mean, Kanye has said in interviews that he's not a good singer, which he isn't the best singer in the world, but he actually sings pretty well on this song. And then he actually has some bars after that, which is not something we saw on The Life of Pablo very often. We saw it on Real Friends and No More Parties in LA, but not very often. So it was nice seeing Kanye get back to that. It reminded me a little bit of Graduation too, so it was nice to see him get back to that 2007 Kanye that everyone probably wants to hear again. I don't think we will again. I think when he comes out with his next album, he probably will go away from that. But it was nice having a kind of a throwback on the song. And Drake wasn't too bad either. But again, I think Kanye outshines Drake on this track, which is not something I think Drake wants, especially since both of them are, basically rap titans. in the game. The 19th song on this is Since Way Back with Party Next Door is very boring. Um, Party Next Door is very like mumbly on this song. It's 6 minutes long, so it's a drag. It's something I really wanted to skip, but for the sake of wanting to listen to the rest of the album, I listened to it anyway. Just very boring, very bland, not much to it. The 20th song is Fake Love, which I actually really enjoyed. It's got a nice upbeat bass to the background. It's kind of ironic because it has that upbeat bass, but it's very harsh because Drake is, talking about fake love and how many people have been fake to him. But it's a very nice song. I like it. 21st song on the track is Ice Melts with Young Thug. Young Thug, who had a great verse on Sacrifices, like I said, drops the ball on this one. Back to his old self. Couldn't understand a word he was saying. Um, and he had like this weird ooh ooh kind of sound in the hook, which is very cringy and very not appealing, very hard to listen to at points. So he didn't help this track at all. Drake was pretty absent on this. Very overshadowed. Drake's very overshadowed on a lot of these tracks. He doesn't let the tiger loose per se, which is kind of a shame because I wish he would do that more often, especially because he's been so successful by doing that. He actually kind of nicely finishes out the album with "Do Not Disturb." Another hard trap beat in the background, very 2015 Drake once again. Um, he talks about music being his only love and how he doesn't trust anybody besides the people that he's close with and the music. So it's very he's finally a little more personal on this track instead of being cheesy. So I think it's a nice end, and I like how he doesn't try to be pretentious and try to have this big grand finale. It's a song and then it's over. I hate when artists try to be like this inventive person and add this ridiculous ending, the grand finale that needs to be added. Which is kind of what Big Sean did, and I wasn't a big fan of, but I still love that album, as you guys saw in my last review. So overall, 22 songs. It's a drag. Um, I'm kind of underwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I wish Drake would go back to that. If you're reading this, is too late, and I wish he would not care what people think. I feel like he cares too much what people think. Not only like the rappers surrounding him, but his fans too. And I know like your fans are everything, but if you're a creative artist, you got to do what you want to do. You can't be worrying about what the fans want. Like I understand the mainstream crowd's gonna love these cheesy lyrics and this Caribbean style beat, but you got to be more inventive. You got to push your boundaries and take risks. And I feel like Drake's not doing that, even on this. And I thought he would, but I guess not. I wish when he's not trying, he's at its best. Is my point. If you're reading this as too late in 2015, he even said in an interview that he didn't think that it would get the accolades that it did, or he didn't think it would get the praise that it did, because Drake wasn't trying. He wasn't trying to please crowds. He was just making the music. He really wanted to make this trap influenced album or mixtape, and it turned out really well for him. People loved it. And if he does that more often, where he makes music by not trying and not caring what people think, I think he'll be one of the best rappers of all time. But as of right now, yeah, he's probably the most popular rapper, but content-wise, I don't think he's anything that special. And to be honest, I'd give this album around a 6 out of 10. It's a little better than Rick Ross's album. There's some highlights on it, but I think those highlights are the features that kind of overshadow him, and it's a shame. He says at the end of this last song that he won't put out anything till 2018. So we'll try again, hopefully. I guess this is a little better than Views because at least there's more style to it. We don't have that Canadian style music. We don't just have that Canadian style influence. We also have Atlanta. We see Atlanta with Quavo. We see Chicago with Kanye, and we see a lot of this other. There's a lot of I like the theme of more life. What he means by that, with there's more hip hop, there's more to hip hop than just his style, and I like how he isn't greedy on this, and he does let other people shine, but at the end of the day, the content wasn't that spectacular for Drake, and as a result, I'm gonna stand with it. 6 out of 10. You might like it if you're mainstream. If you're a huge Drake fan, you're probably going to love this. But as for me, who's not a huge Drake fan, I thought it was very underwhelming. Hope you like this review. I'm Ryan from At the Movies with Matt Ryan. Matt and I will be doing a Kong review for movies. We'll be back to movies. Hopefully in a few days he'll be back. We have 8 subscribers, by the way. We just got our 8th last week after my John Wick review. So let's keep it going. And watch this review and any other reviews of movies or music that you've missed in the past. They're all up there. At the Movies with Matt Ryan is the channel. I'll put this up on Facebook too. Probably tomorrow because I'm tired right now and I want to go to bed. But I'll put this up tomorrow. So, see you everybody.